In this video, we will be learning about the communication process and how can we improve our communication. It is very important to understand the basics of communication. Let's take a step back and look at the big picture of communication and get to know its basic elements that are important for good communication skills. Communication starts with an idea. To be able to communicate, we must have an idea, a notation, something we want to express, information to share, etc. A person has an idea to communicate. The idea is then converted into a message. This process is called encoding. The encoding of the idea is based on an individual's unique perception. Let's take a look at what influences our unique perception. The encoding of the ideas is based on our attitude, culture, emotions, knowledge, values, and past experiences. They all influence our ideas and the way we interpret the ideas of others. These influences are unique perceptions of the way we view things around us. Now that the idea is encoded, it's called a message and is ready to be transmitted. Message is sent to the receiver. The receiver then must interpret the message by filtering the new information through their attitude, culture, emotions, knowledge, values, and past experiences. This interpretation is called decoding the message. The sender needs to make sure that the receiver understood the message. Therefore, it's the receiver's job to understand and convey the message back. The receiver's reply to the sender is called feedback. The feedback allows the sender to ensure that the original message was understood and interpreted correctly by the receiver. The sender then responds back with a confirmation. Communication barriers. Something that interrupts, distorts, blocks, or interferes with the process is called communication barrier. Few examples would be loud noises, bad phone connection, dropped calls, language, broken hearing aids. These are all examples of communication barriers. If we encounter any of the communication barriers, we should stop and restart the communication process again. Effective communication is one of the most important life skills we can learn. Whether you want to have a better conversation in your social life or get your ideas across better at work. Effective communication is communicating in a way that eliminates the potential for mistakes. Phonetic alphabet. Always use phonetic alphabet in your conversations. Many letters sound alike and can be misleading when not used with phonetic alphabets. Please take some time to review and remember your phonetic alphabets. In the previous slides, we talked about barriers in communication process. Filtering is also one of the barriers to effective communication. Filtering is a sender's manipulation of information so that it will be seen more favorably by the receiver. Selective perception. This process is similar to encoding or decoding of a message that we discussed in previous slides. People selectively interpret what they see on basis of their experiences, interest, attitudes, and background. Language is another barrier in communication process. Words have different meanings to different people. Everyone interprets words differently based on their language, culture, environment, ethnicity, knowledge, etc. Emotions is also a barrier in communication process. How a receiver feels at the time a message is received will influence how the message is interpreted. Often receivers misinterpret the message that was given to them, which can lead to undesired consequences if not verified. Now, as we have understood the basics of communication, let's review our three-way communications. Three-way communication, also known as three-part communication or three-way understanding, is an important human performance tool. Three-way communication is an effective way to communicate with your coworker during critical and non-critical tasks. It reconfirms that the message has been understood and prevent human errors. In three-way communication, remember the term DRC: direct, repeat, confirm. It's a three-step process. Step 1. Sender gets the receiver's attention and directs the message. Step 2. Receiver repeats the message. Step 3. Sender confirms that the message was properly understood and responds with, "That is correct." Let's take a look at each step in detail. In step 1, sender directs the message. If practical, the sender positions himself or herself in front of the intended receiver. The sender gets the attention of the receiver, such as using the first names. Sender states the message clearly and concisely. In step 2, receiver acknowledges the sender by repeating. The receiver paraphrases the message in his or her own words. Equipment designators and nomenclatures as is stated by the sender are repeated word for word. The receiver asks questions to verify his or her understanding of the message. In step 3, sender confirms the receiver's reply. If receiver understands the message, then the sender responds with, "That is correct." If the receiver does not understand the message, the sender responds with, "That is wrong," and restates the original message. If corrected, receiver acknowledges the corrected message, again paraphrasing the message in his or her own words. Let's take a look at a few things that we should not do in three-way communication. Receiver reluctant to ask for clarification of the message. Sender not using receiver's name to get receiver's attention. Sender speaking from behind the receiver or not making eye contact when it is practical to do so. Sender or receiver not stating his or her name and work location when using a telephone or radio. Sender attempting to communicate with somebody already engaged in another conversation. Receiver giving information unrelated to the immediate task or directive. Sender not verifying receiver understood the message. Receiver mentally preoccupied with another task. Not using three-way communication in order to expedite the execution of the directive. Receiver not writing the message on paper if there are more than 2 items to remember.